The abortion debate. Can we even call it that? And why are we even discussing it? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. This week, the Supreme Court shifts its opinion issuance days one day back because we have a new federal holiday, and I'm sure you know what that is. So tomorrow, the country will have its next chance to wait for a fruit to drop from the tree. I mean, Tantalus has nothing on this country regarding a possible decision on abortion. And in anticipation, advocates of abortion have made even more graceless public displays, and now they're threatening public violence. But even without such threats, we see a debate that should not be. I'm going to tell you why, just how coarse the fracas has been, how abortion has coarsened our society, and why America desperately needs another great awakening. Before I begin, I do want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt that you can see, the Trumpinator saying, "I'll be back." While I'm on the subject, I want to shout out to another sponsor, BitNext. BitNext is your replacement for Zoom, Slack, the Google G Suite, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Chili Piper, among others. Unlike any of them, BitNext protects your content and conversations so well even the administrators can't see it. So this is your channel for secure comms, conferencing, cloud storage, and file sharing. Best of all, everything is back-end, so you don't even need client software. If you have a browser, you can use BitNext. Follow the link and give them a try. 28 days free of charge. You can't beat that with a stick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is going to hurt because the truth often does. And this hurts very badly, but not nearly so badly as what has happened to 60 million unborn children in the past 49 years. To call the abortion controversy a debate is to be generous. Debaters do not dress up in blood-stained outfits and parade in a residential neighborhood holding up baby dolls by their hands as if to suggest they regard babies with disgust, as about a dozen demonstrators did over the weekend in Falls Church, Virginia, where Justice Amy Coney Barrett lives. I have a lot of links in the description, starting with two videos, one on Twitter, the other on Air TV, showing these demonstrations. The tweet has some really over-the-top rhetoric in it. Children forced to give birth to children. Women will be inferior. Hey, no one forces a woman to get pregnant. Once they are, there's another life to consider. Treating it as if it's something filthy isn't going to change that. The Air TV video has another caption along that line. Let me quote, "Rise up for abortion rights." Live, children's baby doll procession heading to Amy Coney Barrett's house, bringing home the reality of forcing women to give birth against their will, unquote. That same group, or more likely another related group, paraded in front of the Supreme Court, or rather, they came as close as they could given the new perimeter fence around the courthouse. I have a link in the description to that tweet showing videos and giving more overheated rhetoric. Something about women not being incubators. Well, nobody except Margaret Atwood has ever suggested that anyone wants to force a woman to become an incubator or anything else. But again, the time to make such a choice is before you go to bed, with or without someone, not after. While I'm on the subject, I want to point out one thing that the group got wrong. Perhaps. They mentioned, only to dismiss it as irrelevant, safe haven laws that let a woman bring a newborn into an emergency room or other such place, no questions asked. But they attributed the original mention to Justice Amy Coney Barrett. In fact, Justice Sam Alito made the point in his draft, which, of course, someone leaked. We still don't know who, and the marshal of the court has upped the ante by asking for phone records of Supreme Court clerks. By the way, SCOTUSblog tells us that 18 more cases remain for the court to decide. Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization is one of them. I've left a link in the description to that tweet that came out last Thursday afternoon, June 16th. Now, as I said, honest debaters do not engage in such disgusting cosplay, nor does an honest debater invoke a weird kind of lifeboat ethics, in this case saying inflation justifies abortion, nor suggest that the Constitution is out of date. We have seen both kinds of argument from layperson and professional alike. Worse, we have seen people taunt those of us who respect human life by actually advocating for cannibalism. I have a link in the description to a tweet you've got to see to believe. You have a young woman holding up a sign that reads, and I kid you not, Fetus Good Snack. The guy who shot the photo shot video to offer further proof that this is real and not some kind of cybernetic retouch. And last, and possibly most important, honest debaters do not threaten their opponents with physical violence, as the abortion lobby has now done. Every parade in front of the house of a justice of the Supreme Court violates the law. Title 18, United States Code, Section 1507. I've left the link to it in the description. Ignorance of the law is no defense. The situation on the ground is so dire that authorities removed Justice Sam Alito to a safe house. Someone has already tried to assassinate Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and the mainstream media won't even report it. This is but one example of lack of respect for the rule of law in the United States today, and I've talked about that at length 3 days ago. Now, some of our elected officials are setting the worst possible examples. Last Thursday, Representative Nancy Pelosi from California, the Speaker of the House, evaded a question about violence targeting not only justices of the Supreme Court, but also crisis pregnancy centers. What she said instead of answering the question would have made things worse even without the context of evasion. I've left a link to video in the description, but I also am going to quote her here. This talk of politicizing all of this, I think, is something uniquely American and not right. Other countries, Ireland, Italy, Mexico, have had legislative initiatives to expand a woman's right to choose. Very Catholic countries. I'm a very Catholic person, and I believe in every woman's right to make her own decisions. Unquote, Nancy Pelosi. Well, let's remember that the Archbishop of San Francisco excommunicated her by reason of the inconsistency of what she just said. We see elected attorneys general refusing to enforce any laws against abortion. Furthermore, we see senators seeming to call for removing certain justices from the bench on impeachment for and conviction of lying to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Those so-called lies were in answer to the kind of question it ill befits a senator even to ask. It also ill befits any elected official to tell a private company running a search engine where to lead people who search on the word abortion, as several Democratic Party elected members have now done. They evidently want the engines to lead people strictly to abortion mills, not to alternatives. Now, what does the president have to say about all this? We can infer that he wants no limits on abortion. Peter Doocy, back in May, shortly after the big leak, asked that of Jen Psaki, back when she was still the White House press secretary. He went round and round with her, and she never gave him a single straight answer. I have a link in the description to that exchange. You'll find it on rumble.com on the Post-Millennials channel. Go ahead and play it. Hearing is believing. Furthermore, Jen Psaki hinted that Biden wanted illegal demonstrations in front of Justice Holmes and found that acceptable. I have a link in the description to her saying that too, although it's audio only. I guess she didn't get the memo about Title 18 United States Code, Section 1507. So perhaps Biden's latest announcement should surprise no one. We hear this latest from Breitbart, Life News, the Post-Millennial, and the New York Times. By the way, I've left a link in the description to the article in the Times. Specifically, Biden proposes to declare a national public health emergency if, as we expect, the Supreme Court overrules Roe. The Times reports that such a declaration might have two effects. First, doctors who perform abortion where they do not yet have a license would gain protection from legal liability. In other words, state boards of medical examiners would have no authority over any doctor performing abortions. By tradition, no doctor may perform any medical service in any state unless and until the Board of Medical Examiner in that state grants him a license to practice medicine. Reciprocity does not apply to medical licensure, but Biden would go one step further to grant a federal license to perform abortions. Second, practitioners in states that ban abortions could set up clinics on federal government reservations. This would include, but by no means be limited to, military bases. This would be a new wrinkle on Congress' constitutional power, and I quote, to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over all places purchased with the consent of the legislature in the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. Unquote the Constitution of the United States. What's Biden gonna do next? Buy a medical professional building, make that a federal installation, and let doctors open up abortion clinics in it with Federal Protective Services uniformed police to provide building security? Stranger things have happened with this guy, so I wouldn't put that past him. All that shows that the country must come to grips with the meaning of life and much else. In line with becoming a civilizational state, America needs a comprehensive religious awakening. The great experiment with a secular state has run its course with disastrous results. A civilization won't survive when the practitioners of the healing arts practice or condone killing human beings for convenience. Hippocrates, of course, recognized that, and Luke the physician certainly would. I've written my own Oath of St. Luke, and I've left a link in the description so that you can read that for yourselves. For 49 years, abortion has coarsened all aspects of life. No other country in the world has ever permitted abortion to the extent the United States has. The reason for that is that Americans forgot the religious foundations of the country. We must therefore remember those foundations. I've discussed that before, shortly after the Great Leak. George Gallup's organization tells us that 81% of Americans believe in God today, the lowest proportion on record. Maybe this result or prior results are overly generous. If you believe in God, you will keep His commandments, which Americans have not been doing, with the result that Americans, in the last election, gave themselves over to a traitor who cooperates with a global empire bent on reducing the world's population to a relative handful, perhaps not more than 500 million people. If you think I'm being absurd, go read the Georgia Guidestones. They stand on a high hill in Atlanta. The time has now come to abandon secularism and become again that moral and religious people for which John Adams said the Constitution was designed. Lots of links in the description, ladies and gentlemen, to the article, to videos of the blood-soaked demonstrators in Falls Church, Virginia, and before the Supreme Court, to SCOTUSblog, to that tweet, a tweet showing the Fetus Equals Good Snack photos and video, to Title 18 United States Code Section 1507, to Nancy Pelosi evading a question, to Peter Doocy asking Jen Psaki about Biden's position on abortion limitations, and even never getting a straight answer, to the audio of Jen Psaki seeming to endorse demonstrations that, even if they are peaceful, are also illegal, to the New York Times article about national public health emergencies, to the Oath of St. Luke, and to conservative news and views. I left another link into the awesome CNAV store and a bit next, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've just heard, you can like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.